Hello and welcome to the Gwladys Beat Podcast. I'm joined this week by Dawn. How are you doing, Dawn?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Feeling better after yesterday.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so this week we'll be covering the Leeds game yesterday, staying well away from the Newcastle game last Tuesday, and I look forward to what went right yesterday and the Southampton game next week, and how we can kick on and move further away from the relegation zone, hopefully. So we'll crack off with yesterday's game. So obviously night and day from what happened on Tuesday night, and a bit of a change of system obviously paid dividends. What did you think about the game? How do you think we changed from Tuesday?
Where to start, really? Obviously, the system, because we looked like a 4-4-2, didn't we? I mean, Richarlison's up there, but he sort of has a free role, doesn't he? So the system, but the other thing was the high press, the energy levels, um, everything was faster, everything was just a bit more alert. And I think, all the comments after the game, Leeds weren't at the races today. Well, that's a bit unfair because we didn't let them play because we were pressing so quick. So, yeah, it was just, like you say, night and day to Newcastle. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought one of the big differences for me was having Van der Beek in the centre of the park. Seeing how he played compared to Gomez, obviously there was probably a little bit more support there because Richarlison drops back a little bit more readily. Rather than having five at the back, we had those numbers higher up the pitch. But Van der Beek just was everywhere. I thought, tackling, winning those second balls, playing as simple when he needed to, but intelligently playing as simple. So we could play into his feet and he'd protect the ball and lay it off. I thought that really set the tone for the rest of the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he talked about confidence, didn't he, Lampard? And I think everyone looked a bit more confident yesterday. I mean, who knew John Joe Kenny had 2 feet, eh? John Joe Kenny's got 2 feet, so you can make one of their players and get to cross in. But I think, yeah, the temperament of the players, the confidence, the speed of the press, like you say, the system. Van der Beek was great in there, and I thought I, I can't knock any of the players. I thought John Joe Kenny was outstanding for what I usually see for him. Gordon as well. Yeah, it was just like you watch that and you just wish for that every week, don't you?
Yeah. Even Iwobi managed to have a decent game for a change, didn't he? He was contender for man of the match for most most pundits. So I think just as you say, the energy of the entire team was just evident to see, wasn't it? You could see that everyone was pulling in the same direction and sort of leaving everything out there. Because after about 15 minutes, I thought we're going to crash, around the hour mark, and Leeds are going to really come into this, but we didn't. We kept those levels up all game, and I don't think there was really a spell. I think Leeds had probably a 10-minute spell in the second half where we maybe tired a little bit, but even then, they didn't really dominate the game or get a stranglehold on it, did they? We just managed it really well.
Yeah, I think there was a period after we scored where we sat back a little bit and we allowed them to get back into the game and sort of, squeaky bum time then, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
thinking we letting them, like, we do that too often where we score and sit back. But I mean, it was only a sort of short period of time, and then we started pressing up again.
the obviously hit the bar twice, but as Lampard said in his interview, there's not a great deal you can do when someone's just having pop shots from 25, 30 yards. Obviously, probably could have been a bit closer to him, but that first one was ridiculous effort. And then the second one I was convinced was in, to be honest. I still think that probably crossed the line at some point, but I was right behind that from the park end and just thought, oh no, Pickford's nowhere near that. But aside from those, I didn't think that we gave them too much, to be honest. And they're usually a team who carve out quite a lot of chances, aren't they? So to
Yeah,
manage that,
yeah. I believe we had 21 shots yesterday, which is the first time in a game since sometime in 2019 we've had that many shots.
it felt like sort of probably the most attacking performance I've seen since possibly Martinez, to be honest. Like without the daft playing out from the back constantly. And although it looked like they intended to a lot of the time, I think the fans' sentiment probably made Pickford go long more often than we probably intended to. But that's exactly the type of performance you want to see, isn't it? You want to see Gordon and Iwobi winning it out, high up the pitch and committing players to it, because it's so much better than watching that Rafa sort of sit back and let them come onto you and trying to play on the break.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think before we scored, I mean, after we scored, I just mentioned about we sat back for a period of time, but before that, they didn't really get out of their half because we were winning the ball so high up the pitch, and we were on the first, second, and third balls, which is just really nice to see. And like you say, the likes of Iwobi and Gordon winning them, so it was the attacking players getting involved and doing it as well.
Yeah, and that was essentially a makeshift defence, wasn't it? If you think of our strongest back four, you've probably still putting Mikalenko in there, and Yerry Mina probably gets in there ahead of Holgate, but the two of those that played had really good games. So Holgate's been sort of under the spotlight a little bit this season for a few of his performances, but I thought as a whole defensive unit they played really well, even when the times that they were called on to do it. And Seamus Coleman, another one who's been sort of singled out this season a lot of the time, has passed it. I think since Lampard's come in, he's played well in every game he's played, to be honest. Obviously, he's not the answer long term, but to still be putting in shifts like that at 33 or 34 or however old he is, I think is testament to him, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. But even like for the first goal, the fact that he started on the edge of the area and he's throwing himself in there just in case it's not going in.
Yeah.
And his reaction, I think he looked like he was crying.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, it must be difficult for him, obviously, because he's gone through waves with the club, hasn't he? And I think when the sort of machinery came in, he probably thought this is my chance to win something with the club, and he's been through that time of Moyes and then steady building, and to have seen what's happened over the last few years must just feel like Groundhog Day for him, mustn't it? Just over and over again, like disappointment and then hope and then disappointment. But hopefully we can just get behind the manager. He can stay, 3-5 years, however long, and build a team around what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're so bitter, if you like. You've seen the Ben Foster comment about the Goodison crowd becomes the 12th man for the opposition. You get on them quick, and the crowd start giving their own players grief. And Liverpool fans all giving it all that. You know what I mean? I think you've got to understand where we're coming from being like that, because the refreshing thing I heard Lampard say was, because Ancelotti said about the crowd getting up for it to get behind the players. But Lampard says, well, the players have got to give them something to get up for, and they've got to work together. And that's true. For so long, we've seen players that just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
And we have got bitter, and we've been promised so much for 6 years. And like the atmosphere yesterday was the best atmosphere I've seen there for years, I think.
Yeah. I mean, considering it wasn't, you get those atmospheres, don't you, in your derbies and sometimes against United and things like that. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to generate an atmosphere like that every week. I think, to be honest, the way that I look at it is I think the fans probably set the tone for the players in that first 5 minutes of the game. Because obviously if it's you cheer the teams coming out, cheer the players' names, and then it's just silent when the game kicks off. It becomes a very tactical, sort of tedious battle, and doesn't it, for the first 5 or 10 minutes when neither team wants to overcommit or anything. Whereas yesterday, the fans were right up for it from minute one, so the players react to that, and then you end up, you sort of feed off each other then, don't you, rather than the team just lackadaisically, misplacing passes and the groans getting louder and things like that. I think that's how Goodison should be. I saw something the other day, 40 odd games or something left at Goodison Park until we leave, on the current time scale for Bramley Moor. So you've got to try and make every one of them special, haven't you, I think?
I can't believe it's only 40.
Yeah.
It's away, isn't it? But that's any game.
Yeah. So, but no, it was, I did think all the efforts the fan groups made, with the flags and the banners and everything like that, I think all that made a big difference, didn't it? That was a big help to get the atmosphere going. I think the push on social media as well probably helped with that, going with the anticipation that you're going to obviously be more vocal, get behind the lads.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was good, and it was good to see that when there was booing, the fans constantly booed their team every time.
Yeah.
Rather than our players, makes a change. I'm getting scared, I think. Imagine if he scored that goal at the end. What a goal. Telly Alley.
That would have been some goal, to be fair, wouldn't it? The first time volley.
I mean,
But
Lampard can make a player out of Rondon.
yeah, so sort of moving on to Lampard and the impact that obviously he's had, and what do you think? Do you think we'll stick ideally with that 4-3-3, or do you think the five at the back was what he would do in an ideal world?
I think from his time at Chelsea, didn't he use them interchangeable depending on the opposition?
Yeah.
Also, it depends. Like, I think if you were playing like one of the top six, you might go for 5 at the back, maybe, because we are, like you say, playing a makeshift defence at the moment. I think he'll change, but obviously they've said, the players have said in training, it's more high tempo on the pitch. It's more high tempo if we can keep playing on like that. And for me, he's only been there 2 weeks, but if he's getting a tune out of John Joe Kenny and players like that we thought was ready for the scrap heap, then he's definitely doing something right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of positives. Obviously, yesterday, I think every player could, was in contention for man of the match pretty much. I don't think anyone had a bad game, but I think one of the major things that I saw throughout the game was just how much of a difference it did make having Calvert-Lewin up there in terms of someone to hold up the ball and win the flick-ons. I think even when he wasn't necessarily winning the headers, he makes enough of a nuisance of himself that there's balls there to be won, and it just unsettles their defence, doesn't it? Because he had those centre halves in his pocket all game, basically. They couldn't get near him. So would that have made a difference had Rafa have been here, do you think? Or do you think that was just beyond repair?
Yeah, I think Rafa overstayed his welcome. I mean, he was never welcome, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
I think I'm shocked the board let it go so far that we are in the points position that we are now. Harsh that he was missing key players like Calvert-Lewin, but no, it wouldn't have made a massive difference. He needed to go, and I think commenting on Calvert-Lewin yesterday, he didn't have his best game. He was far better than any game he's had since he's come back from injury. So he's only going to get better, isn't he? You'd assume.
Yeah.
Fit.
Yeah. I mean, it does make a difference as well for having, having sort of those 4 attacking players, if you like. With you mentioned the 4-4-2, but Anthony Gordon is an out-and-out winger, isn't he? He's played up front at times for the under-23s and things like that. So he's a genuine attacking threat. And then Iwobi on the other side is pretty far from a defender, I would say, based on a lot of his tackles yesterday. But, at least he puts himself about, doesn't he? And then, so having those 4 players up there, 4 creative players with the 2 possibly holding players in the middle. I say that, but Van der Beek essentially got an assist. But now it's a lot more exciting, isn't it, than anything that's come before, I think.
Yeah, and the options you've got on the bench as well. I mean, it's good to, if you think you've got that side, and the other week Gomez played really well. You've got Decore to come back. You've got Townsend who didn't even get on. You've got Gray to come back. He brought Dele Alli off the bench, and that ball he played for Rondon was superb. Like, it's just, I mean, it's nervous times because of the points and everything, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that was good to touch on that. And obviously, everyone's sort of on a bit of a high after yesterday, but Newcastle picking up a good result today. Obviously, Norwich have picked up a few over the last few weeks, including against us. We're still only 5 points off that relegation zone with a couple of games in hand on Norwich, but we're still nowhere near out of it, are we? So it's more a performance that you've got to build on rather than celebrating being away from that relegation zone, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we've got They were talking, I can't remember which team they were talking about, maybe it was Newcastle earlier, about the fixtures that they've got coming up. But we've got some tough ones. I mean, last game of the season, we're away to Arsenal, and we never win there. We can't let it go that far. We've obviously got the derby away. Chelsea at our place. I mean, Chelsea at their place was the best thing that Rafa did with half a team and getting a point.
Yeah.
So,
I think that was he had a lot to thank Jordan Pickford for that game, to be fair, didn't he? There was a stellar performance from Pickford.
yeah. But it's tough, isn't it? Because, like, if you look back over the years, I remember I was at the 1994 game and talking about it, just like it makes the hairs stand on end on my arms, because, like, what a roller coaster of a game, because you by half time you're relegated and you managed to, I mean, Hans Sager's got bribed and all that. He was up, but and by the end of the game you're over the moon, and sort of we can't go back there.
No.
We just can't.
No, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because that performance yesterday and that side should be able to pick up the points between now and the end of the season. It's just, obviously, with the form we've been on, that's our second win in 15 games or something, isn't it? I think I saw that Lampard's already won the same number of games in 3 games as Benitez won between September and January. So I think when you're used to just constantly losing and drawing, you forget that, as you were mentioning before, even those players that we bring off the bench are good quality players if you can get them playing in the right system. So hopefully, Southampton next up, we can sort of crack on with a similar type of performance as we had yesterday and just gradually ease away from that relegation zone. But because at the end of the day, we're still in the FA Cup, and we're once we beat Bournemouth, if we beat Bournemouth, no disrespect to Bournemouth, but if we beat Bournemouth, then we're 1 game away from Wembley, and it'd be nice to have enough of a gap between us and the relegation zone to be able to enjoy the FA Cup, and just really ramp ourselves up for what could hopefully be a semi-final and possibly a final. I'm getting ahead of myself, given that we haven't won. We've won 2 games, 2 games since September now, I think. But it'd be nice to really put our eggs in that basket, wouldn't it, if we could?
Yeah, because I'd do a cup run always does good for confidence, doesn't it? But unfortunately for us, like, when we have got won the first few games in the cup, we always end up playing at Anfield or getting City. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we've got Bournemouth, and that's a good draw at home. Like, you would expect us definitely to beat them, but then you think, if we do, oh God, who've we got next?
Yeah, City at their place probably, won't it? But yeah, to be honest, anything can happen, can't it? Once you get to Wembley, you just want to, if you do get past Bournemouth, you want just anyone else, isn't it? Like a Southampton at home, or a Championship team at home, anything like that, and then just hopefully scrape our way through to Wembley and take our chances. But so moving on to the Southampton game, and what we can expect from them. They've obviously sort of found a bit of form, as teams tend to do when they're about to play Everton. Strong performance yesterday against United. I could have nicked it. There was a possible pen in the last few minutes. So what do you expect from them, and what sort of, how confident are you of the result going to Southampton?
They're a really weird team, aren't they? And like, they go through these patches where you've got potential to beat anyone, and then they go through a patch where they're just awful.
Yeah.
Like, Hasenhüttl has them they're quite organised team, I think. What's his face who plays in the middle, captain?
Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, he's great, and the last thing you want to do is give him an opportunity on the edge of the area, because his free kicks are great. In a game like that, like, we've obviously got them, and we've got City in the league coming up, and they're obviously different, with completely different games. The last time I can remember us winning convincingly at Southampton was under Martinez when we won 3-0. And
Mhm.
that's one of the best games I've ever seen Everton play.
Yeah, that was the
Um,
Barkley, Lukaku, Delafeu possibly in that green kit, wasn't it? The camo kit.
Yeah, in the green kit. I would love to see a performance like that, but we're not doing very well on the road at the moment. What do you think?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Because I think if we go and play like we did at Newcastle, with what looked like we were playing with a lot of fear and players scared to take the ball in the middle, and you end up reverting back to those sorts of hoofball tactics, then it's going to be a tough game, isn't it? But I think that the good thing about that Martinez game that you mentioned in particular was we went there and played on the front foot like we did against Leeds, and in much a similar way. Obviously, I think Leeds are probably a little bit more of a passing team than Southampton, but I think Southampton are, Hasenhüttl's famous for trying to play that high press similar to Leeds, trying to play football through the middle. So in effect, I don't think the tactics should be very different to what they were yesterday. Yeah, go and pressure them, play on the first touch, and then I think we probably man for man are better than them. But obviously, as we've seen over the last few years, we don't tend to do very well on the road. We did well last year when there was no fans in, but for some reason we just can't crack it when there's fans there. So never feel confident going away, do we?
And well, like you said, like man for man, we're definitely a better side. I mean, you look at the likes of Richarlison, who we're lucky to still have. Our quality is I think quite a bit better than theirs, but it's how we play on the day, and we shouldn't rely on the fans being there. Although it is different there, and that they're not up in the sky like they are in Newcastle. But we need a performance. But for the league position, we definitely need to get a point or something there.
Yeah. Well, look, sort of looking at the next, obviously not including the FA Cup game, the next 4 games are Southampton away, City at home, Tottenham away, Wolves at home. So I know Tottenham are going through a bit of a dodgy patch at the minute. So that's one game where you would go into probably thinking if you perform on the day, then you can get something. And then Wolves at home takes massive importance as well with games running out this season. But from those games, you probably need at least 6 points, wherever they come from. And I'm not expecting much from City away, to be honest. So you've really got to put a shift in at Southampton, haven't you? And take those chances against the teams where they're not really playing for anything in the league, and you can get at them. Teams like them and Wolves. So hopefully we can kick on.
Wolves beat Spurs today at their place.
Yeah.
And I know Spurs have lost 3 on the bounce, haven't they? But it's a really difficult place to go. I mean, I can't. We don't win there that often.
Yeah.
It's definitely a ground that when I go, I leave early because we generally rubbish. So I think, like you say, out of those 4 games, the City game, you'd like to get a point, but probably unlikely. Southampton is probably the easiest out of the other 3.
Yeah.
Because Wolves are right up there, aren't they, this season?
Yeah. Wolves are doing well. I mean, that won't be an easy game by any means, but we've got to get the points somewhere, haven't we? I just saw. I know we play Leicester quite soon, I think, but they've just drawn 2-2 in the last minute against West Ham after being 2-1 up. I mean, they're not completely out of it either. I don't think. I wouldn't imagine they'll get dragged into it, but they're not too many points ahead of us. So if you can get in and around that little pack, with the games in hand, then you feel a lot more confident, don't you, rather than being just precariously balanced above Norwich and Burnley and Newcastle.
Yeah, because Southampton are in that little group as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, if they'd lost, then they'd be 2 points closer. But they're sort of in that little group, which is the group that you want to try and get to, like you say.
Yeah. So I mean, Southampton away. It's not one that we generally play great at, but that's just the general rule of thumb for away games, isn't it? But hopefully, if we put in a decent performance, I think that should be one that we definitely can win. Are you willing to put in a score prediction for Southampton?
3-0
3-0 Martinez-esque.
I would love that. I would love that. I'm gonna try and be optimistic and hope for a win. I'm gonna say 2-1.
2-1.
What about you?
I was going to be even more optimistic. I was going to go, now that we're a free-flowing, free-scoring side, I was going to go something like 3-1. But yeah, I'll go 3-1. I'll go ambitious. Why not? That's new era, new hope. We're winning the FA Cup.
Yeah, we've already won it. Won it the way you're talking.
Yeah, once we beat Boreham Wood, and then we beat the Championship team, and then we beat City at Wembley. But yeah, no, I'm hopeful we'll beat Southampton and just start moving up past Leeds, move into that zone of safety. But
Fingers
yeah,
crossed. We need to do it soon, don't we? With the derby away and
yeah. What you don't want to get to is that end of season where there's 6 games to go, and obviously Burnley will probably still have about 6 games in hand on everyone at that point. So you don't want them permutations, do you? Where Burnley can win 2 games in hand to go above you with 5 games this year, just nightmare setting. So
yeah.
as long as we as long as we move away, just before that end of the season period, and then we can just focus on the FA Cup success that we're obviously going to do.
We've got a little comment there from Scott. Woke up this morning feeling fine. I've got John Joe Kenny on my mind. There's a song for Dele Alli, isn't there, as well? About
Yeah.
do you know what it is?
No, it's to common people. It's to common people, isn't it?
One
Yeah,
that's like Dele Alli does.
yeah. I think that's going to be a difficult one to get going at the game, isn't it? That might be an away. That might be an away song, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
it's good though
no.
because in the press they said, "Oh, what's he dressing like that for?
Yeah.
Why is he driving up to training in a Rolls Royce? Like, do you know how disadvantaged the fans of Everton are?" And it's like, "Oh, come on. We know that every single player is a millionaire." Like,
Yeah. I wasn't expecting him to turn up in a Corsa, to be honest, but he's. I'll allow him. As long as he keeps whipping in balls like he did yesterday for Rondon, I'll allow it.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I think, to be honest, one of the things that I took from yesterday was there was, obviously there's a song for Dele Alli, there's a song for Van der Beek, and I think what Frank Lampard's brought back is a little bit of that harmony between the fans and the players and the manager, which we haven't had for since Martinez, I would probably say. I haven't really felt connected to many of the signings that we've made over the last few years, except possibly Richarlison, and Calvert-Lewin's another one who I really like, but he's got quite a difficult name to fit into a song, unfortunately. So he hasn't got one. But it'd be nice to just have that, like under Moyes, where most of the players had songs and the team had songs, and it just makes such a difference, doesn't it, when you start feeling connected to players and actually liking the team that you're supporting, rather than just thinking they're a gang of mercenaries.
Yeah, because even Iwobi got his name sang yesterday.
Did he? Oh, I must have missed that.
His name was sang. I don't think Ramsey was, but if he scored that goal, I think he might have even got a song.
Oh God!
Are you have you started singing Frank's name?
I
Because
am still scarred from 2009, but I was singing Frank's name, yeah.
I was singing it yesterday, and I was told, "Oh, come on, he hasn't done enough yet, has he?"
He's our manager. What does he need to do? He's
Yeah.
he's willing to put up with these gang of absolute imbeciles. So that's enough for me. He's managed to get a tune out of John Joe Kenny and Alex Iwobi, so he's working wonders in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only a quick one today. When we win, we don't have too much to moan about, do we? It's just in and out with praise and smiles, and then a little nightcap to finish the weekend. Celebratory nightcap.
It's very rare though, even when we play well, we don't have something to moan about.
I know, yeah.
Because everyone played well yesterday. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, what am I moan about now?
I was sitting at the end hoping they scored just so we had something to talk about. Pickford error or something. But yeah, no, it's a good weekend all round, and then all eyes on Southampton for next week.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. join us again next week when we talk about another great victory against Southampton.
Fingers crossed.
Cheers, everyone.